In the richest estate in Nairobi, where gates opened silently and security guards saluted before cars even stopped, lived a girl named Zuri Adebayo. Zuri was born into wealth, not comfortable wealth, powerful wealth. Her father, Chief Adewale Adebayo, was a man whose name built skyscrapers and controlled contracts across the city. His word carried weight. His approval carried status. And Zuri was his only daughter. Her life was not designed for happiness. It was designed for legacy. Her future husband had already been chosen. A senator's son, educated abroad, perfect reputation, perfect family. Everything about her future was arranged. Except love. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Her driver took a wrong turn while avoiding traffic and ended up near a crowded open market. The air was loud. Vendors shouted prices. Music played from somewhere unseen. Then the car stalled. Her driver stepped out in frustration. Zuri opened the door carefully and stepped onto dusty ground her designer shoes had never touched before. That was when she saw him. He was at a tomato stall, negotiating gently with a customer. Not angrily, not desperately, calmly, fairly. His shirt was faded from too many washes. His hands were rough. His shoes had begun to tear at the sides. But when an elderly woman struggled with a heavy basket, he left his stall immediately and carried it for her without hesitation. No one was watching. No one was recording. He simply helped. Zuri could not look away. As if sensing her stare, he turned. Their eyes met. "You look lost," he said plainly. She blinked. No one had ever spoken to her that way. "I'm not lost," she replied. He studied her for a second longer. "Then maybe you're just not where you belong." She returned to the car, but his words stayed with her long after the engine started again. That night at dinner, her father spoke about mergers and expansion projects. He mentioned the senator's son again, casually discussing a future engagement as if it were already signed. Zuri barely touched her food. All she could hear was a market boy saying she did not belong. The next day, she told the driver to pass that same road again. He hesitated, but she insisted. He was there, arranging mangoes carefully, wiping each one before placing it on display as though presentation mattered. She stepped out. "You again," he said. "Is that a problem?" she asked. "Depends," he replied. "Are you buying tomatoes today, or just studying poor people?" She surprised herself by laughing. And that was the beginning. Days turned into weeks. Zuri invented reasons to leave home. Study sessions, church rehearsals, extra classes. But she was always at the market, sitting beside Malik, listening. His name felt simple, honest. He spoke about dreams that did not match his circumstances. He wanted to own trucks, build a transport business, replace his mother's leaking tin roof with brick walls. He never asked her for money. He never hinted at her background. He treated her like an equal. For the first time in her life, someone saw her without seeing her surname. And she fell. But wealth has eyes everywhere. One afternoon, her father followed her from a distance inside a black SUV. He saw her sitting on a wooden bench, laughing, holding hands with a boy whose clothes carried the dust of hard work. That night, the mansion felt colder than usual. Her father was waiting. "Who is he?" he asked quietly. "His name is Malik." "What does his father do?" "I don't know." His control snapped. "A nobody," he thundered. "You risk everything for a nobody?" "He is not a nobody," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "He is kind. Kindness does not build empires." "No," she answered softly. "But it builds homes." Silence fell heavy between them. Then came the ultimatum. "If you continue seeing him, you are no longer my daughter." That night, Zuri lay awake beneath an expensive chandelier imported from Italy. She thought about inheritance, about comfort, about status. Then she thought about Malik's hands. Rough, warm, safe. By morning, her decision was made. Rain fell as if the sky was uncertain about her choice. Zuri stepped out of the estate gates with a small suitcase. No driver, no security, no permission. She walked through streets she had only ever seen through car windows. When she reached the market, Malik was covering his goods with plastic sheets. He looked up and froze. "What happened?" he asked. She dropped the suitcase. "I chose." He swallowed. "Chose what?" She stepped closer. "You." For a moment, even the rain seemed to pause. He held her tightly, as though afraid she might disappear. But love is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the test. Across the city, Chief Adewale received a call. "She has left the estate." His jaw tightened. "Find her." That night, In a small rented room behind the market, Zuri sat on a thin mattress under a flickering bulb. Malik looked at her carefully. Are you sure? She looked around at the cracked walls. Then back at him. I have never been more sure. Outside, a black SUV rolled slowly past the market. Watching, waiting, and somewhere in the dark, a powerful man began planning how to take back what he believed was his. The morning after Zuri left her father's mansion, the market felt different. Whispers followed her. Some admired her courage. Others called her foolish. But Malik did not see wealth or scandal when he looked at her. He saw responsibility. You gave up everything, he told her quietly inside the small rented room behind the market. I gave up comfort, she corrected him. Not everything. He wanted to believe her. But he understood something she did not. Powerful men do not lose without fighting back. Across the city, inside a glass office overlooking Nairobi's skyline, Chief Adewale sat in silence. His pride had been wounded. His daughter had chosen a market boy over his empire. That was not just rebellion. That was humiliation. He picked up his phone. Bring the boy to me. Malik did not expect the black SUV that stopped beside his stall later that afternoon. Two men stepped out in suits. Chief Adewale would like to speak with you. The entire market went quiet. Malik wiped his hands on his trousers. I'll come, he said calmly. He did not tell Zuri. He did not want her worried. The Adebayo mansion felt larger than before. Malik walked across polished floors in worn shoes that squeaked against marble. Chief Adewale stood near the window, hands behind his back. He did not turn immediately. So, he said finally, you are the boy. My name is Malik. The chief turned slowly. How much? Malik frowned. Excuse me. How much will it take for you to leave my daughter? The words hung heavy in the air. I don't understand. The chief walked toward him. I can buy you a shop, a house, a truck, a future. Just disappear from her life. Malik's jaw tightened. I don't want your money. The chief's eyes hardened. Everyone wants money. Not for this. Silence. Then the chief's tone changed. You think love will feed you? Protect her? Provide security? Malik met his gaze. I may be poor, sir, but I am not for sale. That was the moment everything shifted. The chief's expert. Eshin turned cold. Be careful, he said quietly. Pride is expensive. That evening, Malik returned to the market shaken but steady. Zuri sensed something. What happened, she asked. Nothing, he lied softly. He did not want her to see the storm forming. But storms do not need permission. 2 days later, chaos erupted. A wealthy customer began shouting. My money. My envelope is missing. Crowds gathered instantly. Accusations flew. The customer pointed. I left it right here. Near his stall. Malik stepped forward. I have not touched your money. The man glared. Search him. Before Malik could react, 2 security officers appeared. Too quickly. Too prepared. They searched his stall. Nothing. They searched his pockets. Nothing. Then one officer reached beneath the wooden table and pulled out a thick envelope, stuffed with cash. Gasps spread through the market. Malik stared in disbelief. That is not mine. The customer's voice rose dramatically. Thief. Zuri pushed through the crowd. What is happening? They found stolen money under his stall, someone whispered. Her heart dropped. That's impossible, she said. Malik would never. But before she could finish, police sirens cut through the air. Too fast. Too convenient. 2 officers stepped out. We received a report of theft. Malik looked at Zuri. Confusion. Pain. Understanding. This was not random. This was planned. As the officers grabbed his arms, he did not resist. Zuri, he said calmly. I did not do this. Tears filled her eyes. I know, she whispered. But doubt crept in. Not doubt in him. Doubt in their safety. In their future. In how far her father was willing to go. Across the street, parked quietly behind tinted windows, sat a black SUV. Inside, Chief Adewale watched. Expressionless. Controlled. Victorious. Malik was pushed into the police vehicle. The door slammed shut. Zuri ran after it as it drove away. Malik. But sirens swallowed her voice. The market returned to noise. To whispers. To judgment. She stood alone in the middle of it all. Soaked not by rain this time, but by reality. That night, Zuri went to the police station. She demanded to see him. But the officer at the desk shook his head. The evidence is strong. Evidence. A word heavier than truth. Inside the holding. So, Malik sat quietly. He replayed the moment in his mind. The envelope. The timing. The security officers. The sirens. It was too perfect. He finally understood the warning. Pride is expensive. Back at the mansion, Chief Adewale poured himself a glass of wine. His phone buzzed. "It's done," came the voice on the other end. He nodded once. Good. But something unsettled him. Zuri had not called. She had not begged. She had not returned home. And that worried him more than her rebellion ever did. Outside the police station, Zuri stood under dim streetlights. Her clothes simple, her face exhausted. She pulled out her phone. There was only one person powerful enough to fight this. The very man who caused it. Her father. Her finger hovered over his name. If she called him, she knew what he would demand. Come home. Leave Malik. End this. She closed her eyes. Then pressed call. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then his voice answered. Yes. Her voice trembled. Father, we need to talk. Silence filled the line. And somewhere in the darkness of that city, a new negotiation was about to begin.